Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start the next topic, which is on integers. So I want you to go ahead and set up your journal on the left-hand side, and I want you to title it Integers, using the objective that today we're going to order, compare, and graph integers. Okay, now what I do need you to do if you're watching this video is I want you to find a partner, because today you're going to be watching this video with a partner and doing some partner work. So go ahead and find yourself a partner, and then you may go ahead and get started with the rest of the video. So, if you've played two truths and a lie, the way it works is that someone says three statements, and out of those three statements, two of them are true, and one of them is a lie. So, what I want you to do is with a partner, I want you to read these three statements, and I want you to determine which one you think is a lie. Once you've done that, raise your hand so you can get it confirmed by your iPrep facilitator. But one of these statements is a lie. So is it number one that says when counting numbers, the starting point is 0? Is it 2 that says positive numbers are to the left of 0? Or is it 3? The opposite of a positive number is a negative number. Go ahead and try to figure that out with a partner. I want you to go ahead and think about this problem with your partner and discuss your answers for both responses. So it says a flea is jumping on a number line. If the flea starts at 0 and jumps 5 units away, where would it land? And then I want you to think about the second question that says that the flea jumps 2 units and ends up at 0. Where did the flea start? So think about these questions with your group members, and then go ahead and move on to the video. If you want the answer, be sure to ask an iPrep facilitator. All right, so go ahead and copy this down in your journal so that you have the definition down. But the definition of an integer is any positive and negative whole numbers. So an example with that would be -1, 2, 4, 29, -29, etc. Right? They're all whole numbers. They don't have fractions like -1/2 or decimals like 0.5, right? These are not examples of integers because they have fractions and decimals. Now, the opposite of a positive number is always a negative, and that was one of the truths in the beginning, right? So if I give you the number 10, the opposite of 10 is -10. When you think about it, the opposite of hot is cold. The opposite of positive is negative. If you have a positive attitude, the opposite of that is having a negative attitude, right? So on a number line, any numbers that are to the right of 0, using 0 as our starting point, all of those are positive. Any numbers that are to the left will be negative. And you can see the number line by the dry erase board in the iPrep room that shows you the starting point of 0, and all the numbers to the right are positive and all the numbers to the left are negative. So let's go ahead and look at this, where we write an integer to represent every situation. So the first one says 10 degrees above 0. I know my integer, my number is going to be 10, but I need to determine, what does above mean? Does it mean a positive situation or a negative? Well, I know above means positive, so in this case it's going to be a plus 10. Losing money is a negative, right? That means money that you no longer have. So a loss of $16 would be a -16. Gaining means it's something that you now have. So a gain of 5 points would be a positive 5. And lastly, taking 8 steps backwards means going a -8. So some positive and negative words, we saw that we had above 0, we had gain. Another word is profit. And credit. Credit is another positive word, because when you're credited money, it means it's money that you now have. Some negative words would be below 0, loss, taking steps backwards. What else? A debit. Let's see if there's any other positive or negative words that you can figure out. If you do, put those words on the flip chart paper that are on the dry erase board so that we can have a reference of some positive and negative words. All right, so now here comes the tricky part, right? Is understanding which numbers are greater and which numbers are less, right? So in this case, we have a number line with our starting point always being 0. And we think about the situation, I like to think of things in terms of money, right? So which one is better, having $1 or five? It's obviously better to have $5, right? You can buy more with it. So $5 in this situation is greater. What about having $13 or zero? 13. I would so rather have $13 than have $0. Having $5 or losing $5, which one do you think is better? Having. I'd rather have money than have to lose it, right? So one thing that we can tell is the farther away, if you're positive, the farther away from zero you are, the better you get, right? I'd rather have $5 than to have one. I'd rather have $4 than to have one, right? So we know that 4 is greater than 1. But let's look at this situation. We have -5 and -3. Which is a better situation? Owing someone $5 or owing someone $3? Well, I don't like to owe anybody money, right? No one likes to owe money. But if I did, let's say I did have to borrow, it's better to borrow $3 than 5, because if I borrow 5, that's more money that I have to pay back, right? So in this situation, it is better to borrow 3. Think about it in terms of when you have to pay back. You want to pay back 5 or 3? You want to pay back 3, right? So in terms of negative numbers, and I want you to write this in your journal, with negative numbers, the closer you are to 0, the greater, okay? So going back to -5 and -3, -3 is right here, and -5 is farther away. So the closer that you get to 0, the bigger you are. The way to think about it is that the number line starts at -infinity. That's your kind of like your unofficial starting point. And as you move closer and closer and closer and closer to positive infinity, you get bigger. Okay? So the closer we are to positive infinity, the bigger. -5 is less than -3 because it is farther away from 0. It is farther away from positive infinity. So go ahead and solve this particular problem on the left hand side of your journal. I just want you to arrange these numbers, right? So we have 5, -1, -6, -2, 3, 7, 0, right? And it says that we want to arrange these in terms of cold to warm. So this is the tricky part. If the weather is warm, right, does that mean that you are greater or less, right? If I give you, it's 100 degrees outside, is it hot? Yes, it is scorching hot. So that means that we want to order our numbers from least to greatest. Now, one easy way that I like to start is, I notice that we have 0. So I'm going to put my 0 right here in the middle, because I know that 0 is the middle point. And then I know how to order positive numbers, right? So I see 3 goes next, and then 5 over here. Let's not forget the 5. And then 7, right? I know how to order positive numbers. The tricky part is the negative numbers. Now, out of -1, -6, and -2, which one is the farthest away from 0? -6, right? So -6 is going to be my least number. What comes after? Which one is the next one that is farthest away from 0? -2. So I'm going to put -2 next, and then -1. Okay, so in a sense, when you go to the negative numbers, they're going backwards now. So here it goes 0, 1, 2, 3. But the other way, it goes negative, or backwards. -1, -2, -3, right? On a number line. So in this case, our numbers are going to be backwards. Alright. Here it says that on a winter day, the temperature in Anchorage was 23 degrees below 0, which to me tells me negative. And the low temperature in Minneapolis was 14 degrees below 0. Again, another negative. So it says Minneapolis was colder because it says -14 is less than -23. I want you to talk to a partner and figure out whether you think Sophia is correct. I don't want you to write this down, even though it says right hand. I want you to figure out, is Sophia correct? And explain your answer to a partner. So what did you think? Is Sophia correct? Well, when I make a number line, right, and I start at 0, and I want to go, I'm going to do -10, -20. I know that -14 is going to be somewhere right here, right? And -23 is going to be right over here. As I'm moving towards infinity, I notice that 14 is closer to it. 14 is closer to 0 and is also closer to infinity. So that means that 14 is greater. And so Sophia was wrong. She said that 14 is less, but that's wrong. 14 is greater. Think about it in terms of debt, right? Would you rather owe $14 or 23? I'd rather owe 14. I don't want to pay back someone $23. I'd rather owe less. So that means that -14 is greater, a greater situation than -23. All right, I want you to quickly try to take 30 seconds to order these temperatures from greatest to least. Let's make sure we're reading the directions. Once you are all done with your notebook, go ahead and raise your hand and ask the leader of your group for a Carnegie textbook. Now, these particular pages are in your volume 2 book. So they're in the backhand closet. One of your leaders in your area is going to give you the book so that you can rip out the page. Okay, so just raise your hand quietly and your leader will bring you a book. Once you are all said and done with the Carnegie pages and you are all said and done with writing your notes, you can play this game on the laptop. This is like a fruit game where you could kill or burst fruits based on which numbers are greater and less than. So I want us to play this game, take a moment to play this game once we are all done with our responsibilities.